Dr. Imranali Panjwani underwent Hawza seminary training in classical Islamic sciences and Arabic at Al-Mahdi Institute, Birmingham. He obtained his PhD in theology and religious studies from King's College London, focusing on the role of the self in Islamic Western human rights discourse. He recently served as an adjunct senior lecturer at the School of Law, University of Notre Dame, Australia. Salawat.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الحمد لله غير مقنوط من رحمته ولا مخلو من نعمته ولا مأيوس من مغفرته ولا مستنكف عن عبادته الذي لا تبرخ منه رحمة ولا تفقد له نعمة صلوات ربنا لا تجعلنا مع قوم الظالمين. Assalamu alaikum, my dear brothers and sisters. It's an honor to be with you on this auspicious night. I want to just say that on this night, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our a'mal. Please can we begin with the Surah Al-Fatiha in remembrance of all the marhumin and also for our shafa on this night. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive all of our sins and inshallah help us reform ourselves, that if Allah wills that we reach another Ramadan, we are certainly better than the last one. Surah Al-Fatiha, please. I know that iftar time is in about 20 minutes, so I also have my phone out. I can't see a clock here. Is it? I'm making a suggestion. Can you put a clock at the front? A suggestion to the committee and all the no inshallah. So I will inshallah try to finish before iftar time inshallah. What I began with, these lines that I read are from sermon 45 of Nahjul Balagha, and I will translate them, but the whole point of this very short discussion is for us to appreciate the very man that died, or rather was martyred on this night, Imam Ali alayhi salam. Salawat please. Whenever the 19th or 21st night of Ramadan comes, I don't just feel sad for the fact of how he was martyred. The fact that our beloved Mawla Ali alayhi salam was struck on his head in Masjid al-Kufa. And in the maqtal that we have, that you see him struggling on the ground. You see him putting dust on his forehead, reciting a verse of the Quran, which I will say in the maqtal. You see blood oozing from his head. I expect that my imams would sacrifice themselves in that way, expecting them to strive for Allah. I don't feel as sad about that as I do for the following, which is that we have lost a contribution to humanity. That is why I'm basically sad. Because whether you read Shia books, Sunni books, Oriental books, Imam Ali basically wasn't recognized in his time. I mean, that is a fact. Even when he was Caliph, he could not express the knowledge that he wanted to express to the society. If any of you have read the last part of Nahjul Balagha and other hadith compilations, you see a reasonably lengthy hadith between himself and Kumail ibn Ziyad. And Kumail ibn Ziyad was one of the few companions that chased after Imam Ali salam because he was thirsty for knowledge. And he did that, and Imam Ali responded to him by saying that, "O Kumail, I have a chest of ilm, I have a chest of hikmah, a chest of knowledge and wisdom to give, but I fear three things," he used to say. One is that if I were to give knowledge to people, some of them would exploit it because they want to abuse that knowledge for the destruction of humanity, for the destruction of people, like understanding something about nuclear theory or nuclear energy and then making a nuclear bomb out of it. The other, he would say that I could give knowledge to another group of people, but they would be immoral in themselves. That means they wouldn't have the right soul to use the knowledge. They would be corrupt in themselves. And the third group are those people where he would give that knowledge, but those people would not even understand it. So although we lament of today's martyrdom, I lament, I cry in my heart, because even today, Imam al-Islam is not recognized for his human contribution, which I want to bring out. He is not recognized for the fact that if you look at our hadith literature, he's the only companion of Rasulullah. He's the only person within that period that has the largest corpus of hadith on the nafs, on the soul. He's the only person that can teach us about the meaning of our existence after our Prophet. No other companion, and I respect them all, but no other companion can boast to have that many intellectual sayings and intellectual wisdom about a variety of topics. I want to tackle two things only. One is, what was Imam Ali's view of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, especially in relation to the Prophet, and how did that manifest in his existence, in his being, that we can learn from him today. The lines that I read out are from Sermon 45 of Nahjul Balagha, which is also recorded in the works of Sheikh Tusi, Sheikh Saduq, and Sheikh Mufid. And this is what Imam Ali says about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, Alhamdulillahi ghayra maqnuti min rahmati. Praise belongs to Allah, for no one despairs in His mercy. No one. No one can ever despair in Allah's mercy. Wala makhluwin min ni'mati. No one is devoid from His blessing. We may think, and yes, there is suffering and oppression in the world, and we may also be in difficulty. But there is nobody that has not been given some kind of blessing in his or her life. وَلَا مَأْيُوسَ مِن مَغْفِرَتِي. No one can be hopeless from his forgiveness, which is very appropriate for this night. Whatever wretched sin I have committed or you have committed, we can never be hopeless on this night that Allah will not forgive us. He can and will forgive us, inshallah. وَلَا مُسْتَنْكَفٍ عَنْ إِبَادَتِي. No one is too proud to worship Him. If ever we have ego or arrogance about ourselves, then this is the night to shed all of that. Because only Allah is mutakabbir. الَّذِي لَا تَبْرُخُ مِنْهُ رَحْمَةٌ. Mercy does not cease from Him. At times we may feel hopeless, but mercy does not cease from Him. وَلَا تُفْقَدُ لَهُ نِعْمَةٌ. And blessing is not deprived from Him. This is Imam Ali's view of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And today, as you and I know, Muslims are painted with a terrorist God, a warlike Greek God. They should be painting some Greek civilization with that same brush. There's no such thing as Greekophobia. But the point is, yes, there is a God of war in Greek literature. But unfortunately, we have been painted with that God. That we have a God of war, that we believe in a Sharia that is full of cutting people's limbs and full of punishment. Nowhere do you find such sentiment in Nahjul Balagha, nowhere. Imam Ali reflects the mercy of the Prophet. We say Prophet is rahmatul lil alameen, a mercy unto all the worlds. After the Prophet, which person showed that mercy? Which person? I challenge anyone, even a historian, that can tell me that when on the night, on 19th and 21st, in fact on the 19th when he was struck and there was commotion in Masjid al-Kufa, tell me, which person in the society at Imam Ali's time gave him that reverence that the orphans and widows gave him that respect? When he was struck and there was commotion in the masjid, the people were crying, full of tears. And I'm not talking about Muslims. I'm talking about the Christians and Jewish widows and orphans that were looked after by Imam al-Islam. All of them had tears in their eyes because they said, where or what is going to happen to us? For our father has now died, or our father has been struck. Who is going to look after us? Who can we call our father? they did not trust any other leader to behave like a father to them than Imam Ali alayhi salam. This is why they were crying. They did not cry because they were going to miss Imam Ali's lectures in the masjid. That they said, oh, we have lost a sheikh, or we have lost a Maulana. They didn't think like that, because Imam Ali was something more than them. They did not cry because somebody was not going to lead them in Salatul Jama'ah. In fact, before Imam Ali alayhi salam was martyred, Kulthum told her father, told Imam Ali alayhi salam, do not go to Masjid al-Kufa, ask someone else to lead Salatul Jama'ah. There were other people to lead people in prayer. They missed him because of his mercy and compassion in the society in which he lived. Which means, the Islam that we want, or the God that we want, depends on our interpretation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, God exists, I believe that. What kind of God? I don't know. It depends on my view of Allah and your view of Allah. If I believe in a ritualistic God, I will go back to a ritualistic God. And this is what Imam Ali says in Nahj Balagha. He says that there is a group in the society that believes that they are tajir, they are businessmen. And on, for example, and just for sake of example, giving night of A'mal, they will say, oh Allah, I've done my A'mal, I've done my obligations, I've fulfilled each and every component of your religion, now my accounts are settled with you, give me my reward. There is that group and that mentality that think Allah is like that. If we want a fearful God, then that is the God that we will come to. We will come only afraid, not with any raha, not with any hope or wadud, any sense of love for Allah. But if we come with a sense of gratefulness and a sense of gratitude that I have worshipped an Allah that is compassionate and merciful to me, and I should thank Him for every favor that He's bestowed upon me, then that is the Allah that I will return to. But more importantly for this life, that is the Allah that will manifest in my being, and I will behave like that towards people. Salawat, please. And of course, tonight, mashallah, as it is Tuesday, as I read in coming here, that may Allah bless Mahfil Ali for giving the food to the needy. That is a beautiful source of compassion. What other examples can we cite from Imam Ali's life that show that Imam Ali wasn't just doing lip service to this, as maybe sometimes you and I may do? I say I believe in Allah, but what role does Allah play in my actions? I want to give you two examples to show how he carried on this prophetic vision of how the Rasulullah was merciful to every individual, how Imam Ali was the same. There is one lengthy narration we have in Wasa'il Shia about a Christian beggar, which you may have read. In the time that Imam Ali was the Khalif, Imam Ali was walking along the streets of Kufa, and he noticed a beggar there. And it appeared to him that he hadn't noticed this beggar before, or wanted to find out more information about him. So he asked the surrounding people that used to commonly walk on the street, used to say, this man that you are passing, please tell me more about him. And they said that this man is a devout Christian, very pious Christian. And Imam Ali says, well, how did he come into this state that he's a beggar? I mean, he's a believer in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's part of our society. How did he come to this situation? So they said that this Christian man was a young, strong man in his heyday. And we used to extract work from him. We used to do business with him or work with him, and he used to do work for us. So he says, well, how did you leave him in this state? He says, well, just because of old age, he couldn't do the work anymore. So he lived on the street. He doesn't have shelter. He doesn't have any food. And we are giving him sadaqah. And that is how he is maintaining himself. Guess what Imam Ali's response is? Imam Ali tells his own companions and the Muslims at the time, he says, woe to you that you have left this Christian man who used to serve you, that now you leave him on the street and just give him some sadaqah. Why doesn't he have a shelter? Why doesn't he have a constant source of food? It is because of you. because you extracted what you want out of him in his life, and now because you are not in need of him, now that he is old and frail, you have left him on the street. I order you, he says to his companions, I order you to go to the Baytul Mal, to the treasury, and extract enough money that this Christian beggar can have a shelter over his head and that he would never beg again. This is what Imam Ali meant, not just to Muslims, but to all those that lived under his care in the society. Our duty is to make sure the homeless man or the beggar or any oppressed person is not going to be in that situation again. We treat him as if he or she is our own. This was his attitude. What does this remind us of? In one article I was reading before in this week, I forget the title, it's something to do with, you can find it on the internet. It's called Prophet Muhammad's Covenant with the Christians and Jews during his time. If you put that in Google and put PDF by it, maybe you will get it. And in that article, the author draws upon Muslim sources as well as Christian and Jewish sources to show the kind of covenants or pacts that our beloved Prophet made with Christians and Jews existing in neighboring countries. And I'm just going to share with you an extract of one, okay? In the covenant with the Christians of Persia, our beloved Prophet said the following. He said, and even as they honor and respect me, social Muslims care for those people, that is the Christians of Persia, as being under our protection. Whenever they are in distress or discomfort, these Christians, the Muslims shall hold themselves duty-bound to aid and care for them, for they are people subject to my ummah, obedient to their word, whose helpers they are. It therefore is proper for my sake to attend to their comfort, their protection and aid, in face of all opposition and distress, suppressing everything that becomes a means to their oppression. Look how beautiful the Prophet looks at not just his society, but even the neighboring minority groups and countries. Ummah to him meant all those people under his care, not the ummah that we define today. And of course, I know that Muslims are one of not, or the most oppressed group in the world. But it doesn't mean that we forget all other people. The ummah doesn't mean Muslim ummah. Ummah means all the people that can come under our care, such as the people in Harrow, for example, or the people in the United Kingdom. Imam Ali salam reflected this beautiful concept of ummah, which we are so sorely missing today. He reflected in his conduct the merciful Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that should be in the news, that should be in the forefront of our minds and existence. I cry today because this Allah is lost. He is not advertised in what we read. And perhaps He is also lost in our Muslim communities because our reach or our extension of our community can be narrow. I lament at Imam Ali's contribution because the whole of humanity should miss the person that is their father. Salawat. Can I request if we can dim the lights, please? Jazakallah. On the night of Imam Ali's martyrdom, I will tell you that our beloved Imam had an empty stomach, for he was fasting. But there is also another reason as to why he had an empty stomach. He made a dua. No need, it's okay. Okay. Okay, sorry. He made a dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he said, "Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you are going to take my life, then take my life on an empty stomach, that I may realize your existence and I may be in your ibadah," he said. Before that, people were plotting his martyrdom. So please remember that our beloved Imam was the product of a plot. When he went to Kulthum's house and his dear daughter had made iftar. She put 3 things on the table. When Imam Ali sat down, he said to his daughter, when have you ever known that your father would eat more than 2 things? Tell me, if we are the followers of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, how much do we eat? How much do we fill our stomachs? He told Kulthum, take away one of these things, for to me this is a disrespectful thing. Kulthum obeyed her father, and Imam Ali ate. When Imam Ali had finished, he told his daughter that I must go now to lead Salatul Jama'ah. Kulthum said, I see that your face is very distressed, my father. You have already told me that you are thinking about death. Do not go to the masjid. Tell another person to lead Salatul Jama'ah. Imam Ali said, my dear daughter, I cannot do that, for it is my duty. Kulthum holds her father's arm and says, my father, if you leave me on this night, I may not see you again. Imam Ali goes to the masjid saying, Hayya ala salah, Hayya ala salah. No sooner does he say this when he sees Ibn Muljim sitting there, lying there, sleeping there with a concealed weapon, a concealed sword. Imam Ali knows what he's concealing, but he tells Ibn Muljim, do not sleep in the way that you are sleeping, because it is the sleep of shaitan. As Imam Ali begins the prayer and goes into the sajda, Ibn Muljim raises his sword and strikes our beloved Mawla on the head. Blood oozes out of our beloved Mawla's head, and he is now struggling on the ground. The blood oozes out and spills on the pillar of Masjid al-Kufa. Oh Allah, please give us that opportunity that we may kiss that pillar. That though the blood may not be present, the spirit of Imam Ali's blood is there, that I may kiss it and say on the akhirah, Oh Ali, I cried for you and I kissed that pillar when you were martyred. When Imam Ali is there struggling, he puts dust on his forehead and he says, وَمِنْهَا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ وَفِيهَا نُعِيدُكُمْ وَمِنْهَا نُخْرِجُكُمْ تَارَةً أُخْرَى. He says, from it we created you, in it we shall return you, and from it we shall raise you a second time. In this way our beloved Mawla left the society. O Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, please may you bless Ali ibn Abi Talib al-Islam. O Allah, please let me not be a Shia who says Ali by my tongue, but I do not follow the conduct of Ali. O Allah, let this a'mal mean something to my heart, inshallah. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un.